Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. Next week here at St. Edward, we will be observing Ember Days. And the question that you might have on this 5-Minute Friday is, what are Ember Days? Ember Days are days of prayer and fasting, also partial abstinence, no meat except at the main meal. They occur on the Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday of a week, 4 times a year, corresponding to the 4 seasons of the year. The 4 times are during Lent, the week after Ash Wednesday, after Pentecost Sunday, in September after the Feast of the Holy Cross, which is September 14, and in Advent after the Feast of St. Lucy, which is December 13. Now, the easy way that you can remember those 4 times is the phrase Lenty, Penty, Crucy, Lucy. Lenty, Penty, Crucy, Lucy. Now, if you come up to me at Mass this weekend and you say to me, Lenty, Penty, Crucy, Lucy, I'll say one Hail Mary for your intentions. All right, so why celebrate Ember Days? Well, Ember Days are a time for us to thank God for his blessings received, but also to remind ourselves of the need for penance. There are 4 focuses, foci. There are 4 points of focus of our Ember Day observance. Number 1 is thanksgiving. We give thanks to God for the fruits of the earth. Being an observance that is tied to the seasons, farmers in particular, I think, understand the need to give thanks to God for the harvest. But we should always give thanks to God for his goodness toward us. Second, it has some Lenten aspects to it, namely fasting and abstinence. In former times, fasting during Ember Days was required, but now it is not. But still, fasting and abstinence are always important to our spiritual life. The Gospel for the Mass for Ember Wednesday is Mark chapter 9, verses 16 through 29, where Jesus heals the boy with the demon. The apostles couldn't do it, and they ask why not. Jesus says, "This kind can be cast out in no way except by prayer and fasting." The third focus for our Ember Day observance is praying for priests. In olden days, priests were ordained on the Ember Days. Jesus says, "Pray therefore the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." So we see the connection between the laborers and the harvest. And so one of the things that we can do is to use the coming Ember Days as a time to pray for priests. And then number 4, almsgiving, which always has a connection to prayer and fasting, not only during Lent. Almsgiving is not only an effective way to practice detachment, it's also an obvious response to one's gratitude for the things that he or she has been given. After Vatican II, Ember Days were no longer formally observed, but they are in the traditional calendar, and some families still voluntarily make their observance. For one thing, our traditions help form us and inform us to know and live our faith. Ember Days are another way to incorporate our faith in our daily lives. Also, they are another thing that families can observe together. These regular observances, celebrated throughout the year, remind us that all time belongs to God, and we are to sanctify the seasons. And really, in a time of excess and over-attachments to worldly pleasures, fasting and abstinence, along with prayer, allows us to have an opportunity to detach ourselves from the modern world's comforts, allowing us to better seek comfort in the love and presence of God. We will be having a low Mass on Ember Wednesday, September 20 at 7 p.m. The readings and prayers of Ember Wednesday reflect the Church's joy in having God as her protector. This joy is accompanied by penance for the times that we preferred consolation in lesser things instead of God. The remedy, prayer and fasting. In the spirit of penance, the violet vestments are used, much like they are during the penitential seasons of Lent and Advent. If you can't make it to Mass that evening, I encourage you to include those 4 aspects of the Ember Days that I talked about earlier in your homes: Thanksgiving, fasting and abstinence, praying for priests, and almsgiving. The great Father John Zulsdorf says, "We are our rights. When we lose them or distort them, our identity suffers. In the absence of these traditional observances, well, nature abhors a vacuum. We're going to look for something else, and we're going to try to find it in the world. That's where you get places that imitate worldly ways and practices in their liturgies, and suddenly the Mass looks like a rock concert or a football game. We need to recover our traditions and not look to the world to set our identity for us. We form the world, not the other way around. But we can't do that if we don't even know ourselves." So, what do you think of Ember Days? Why do you think church leaders back then suppressed them? Those of you who are more veteran Catholics, do you remember the Ember? How did you observe them back then? Let me know in the comments below. Hope to see you there, and have a blessed day. God bless you.